What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about an undrafted free agent signing the Detroit Lions made, and this is Sage Surratt, the receiver out of Wake Forest. So let's get it started.
You know, I got to shout out DoseOfDion, man, because it was actually the first time I went live on YouTube. And, you know, guys don't know DoseOfDion. He put out a lot of good content for the Detroit Lions.
Okay, hold up. I noticed this dude was just chilling here, so I'm putting it back. In today's video, we're going to be talking about an undrafted free agent signing the Detroit Lions made, Sage Surratt. Now, it may be pronounced Sage Surratt. I don't know, but I say Surratt, so we're just going to rock with that. If it's Surratt, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to rock with Sage Surratt for this video. This is a 6'2", 209-pound receiver out of Wake Forest that definitely has some major knocks, but also some pretty big pros as well. At this point, we all understand what Sage's biggest knock is, and that is the speed. It's the speed, it's the quickness, which concerns you about him trying to find a way to get separation at the next level. But we're going to dive a little bit deeper than that in today's video. We're not just going to simply say he struggles with separation. We're going to dive a little bit deeper. So he ran a 4.69 40, which is obviously extremely slow. It's one of the slowest in the class. I mean, it actually was faster than Quintez Cephas' official 40 time, but these weren't, but it was faster. I mean, Quintez Cephas ran a 4.73, even though reportedly he ran faster than that. But regardless, we've seen guys that aren't very fast still have impacts in the NFL. It's just difficult. It's very difficult, and you have to find your own kind of little niche. You got to find your own way to be impactful and still be involved. And that's what Sage Surratt was able to do at the college level. So I want to dive into that a little bit here. Let's start off with the first part, which is the release. Now, he plays with a lot of physicality in his game. He's got good size. So he definitely has the strength to get off the release, and cornerbacks aren't going to hold him up and take him out of the play. The issue is, though, when guys do press him, it can slow him down, and he's already not super quick off the release anyway because he's not that fast. So it really slows down the route and the route development, which definitely can be an issue. But he will get through it. Physically, you can't really hold him up. I didn't see tons of guys press him. Sometimes they would, sometimes they wouldn't. But for the most part, when he was pressed, he would get through it. But sometimes it could slow him down a little bit. But then it's on to the next part. And this is kind of the burst. Once you're off the line of scrimmage, press or not, what do you do from there? He actually has some underrated bursts. That's not to say he's fast or he's quick or he's even above average there. But it's definitely a little underrated because I expected him to be like he was walking, and that's not the case. He does a terrific job of really just putting his head down and going. All right, he's not looking back at the quarterback at all. He gets really low. You can see him right after the release get really low. He starts to bend down and he starts to take off as fast as he can. So he really tries to maximize that acceleration, and it's not awful. I mean, it's not good by any means, but it's not awful. He's able to concern cornerbacks a little bit. Some cornerbacks more than others, but it's not terrible. It's really not, because of just how much focus he puts into it to get low and just take off and run as fast as he absolutely can. The deep, and it's a vertical route, which is where a lot of his plays are made, as he had over 15 yards per completion. If it's a deeper vertical route, he does a absolutely amazing job of doing some little nuances, throwing in some little, kind of head fakes, head bobs, things like that to throw off cornerbacks. And a lot of times, at least from what I believe, they're not scripted. It's not something that was in the play. Hey, you're going to fake here and then you're going to go. He does a lot of his own little things to get himself separation. There was a perfect example. There was a cornerback blitz on his side. So, of course, he's going to be free. So when the cornerback blitzed, the safety came down to help. And you would think, okay, he can just run by him. The issue is he's not that fast, so he couldn't run by him. So when they sent the quarterback blitz, he kind of ran and then stopped like he was going to catch it. It wasn't planned. And then he took off. And it just took the safety 1 second to step down, plant down, and just come down as if he was stopping on his route. And then he took off. He does a lot of that little things, a lot of little head fakes, a lot of nuances, and it does get him separation, especially on vertical routes, because if he simply just ran straight, he's not going to get a lot of separation. All right, but for him, he's got these little things that he throws in there, little head fakes, little head bobs, little stutters, change of speed that he tries to mix it up with against cornerback to throw him off a little bit. And we know all it takes is one step. Even if you're just even with a cornerback, sometimes you can win those battles. But if you just have a little bit of separation, a good quarterback can drop that in the bucket, and obviously it can turn into a completion. So that's what's great. He has these little ways, to try to get some separation downfield. In zone coverage, not man-to-man against the zone, he's really nice because he's a big target. He's a very big target in zone coverage. So when quarterbacks, have it, he can make himself a very big target for a quarterback and kind of, is out there clapping his hands. He just makes him a very big, solid target to throw to. He's got a huge catch radius, of course, because of how long and how how tall he is. His vertical didn't look great. I don't know what it is. I heard he did play basketball, so maybe it's better than I thought. His vertical just didn't look great, but he didn't actually test for that. But regardless, he is a pretty big catch radius for a quarterback to go to, and he seems like he does try to make himself an option once the play breaks down, trying to find a way and trying to find a hole that the quarterback can go into, because, you know, a lot of times for Wake Forest, that was their top option. That was the primary option, was to go to Sage Surratt. So if it wasn't initially there, he would have to try to find a way to create and try to find a way to get open. One thing that I really like is, because he's played in so many contested situations, is that quarterbacks understand he's not always going to be open. I mean, most of the time he's not going to be that open. So you have to trust him, but you also have to put the ball just where the defender can't get it and play to his size. His size is his strength. His physicality, his playing through contact, is his strength as a pass catcher. So when he's even, you have to throw a lot of back shoulder passes. You got to put it up for grabs. And there's too many times where he would actually get space, get some separation, doing some of those little fakes or whatnot, and get some space down deep. And, you know, he's not that slow. Like, he's got a little bit of speed. So, but the quarterback would underthrow it. And when you underthrow it, you allow the cornerback to get into it instead of leading him or putting it away from the defender. You really have to trust him to go out there and make the play and just throw it where the defender can't get it. Because if you're looking for consistently just being open, he's not going to be much of a target for your quarterback, and you probably won't throw that direction. So you got to throw it when he's covered. If you're not throwing it when he's covered, it's going to be difficult to find times that he's actually going to be open, especially on vertical routes, unless every once in a while he'll get some separation with some of those nice moves that he runs. He does bring a little bit of yak to the game. I've seen him do some yards after the catch. I saw him on some screens. He does bring a little bit there. Like I say, he's a physical receiver. You know, he'll break some tackles, and he's always looking for extra yards. Something about just the way he plays, you know, I don't know what it is. It just seemed like the kind of guy that you would want. He does work back to the ball really well. That's why I said back shoulder passes, things like that. You really have to just try to throw it away from the defender a lot of times and trust him to go make the play. So if you're even, he's running a vertical route, sometimes quarterbacks would just throw it behind him just to have him kind of stop on his route and go back to it and play through some of that contact, because that's what his biggest strength is. And when he plays through that contact, you can draw some flags, but that's how you get completions to him. But again, you have to be willing to take shots. Like, there was too many times where Wake Forest, you know, the quarterbacks, Jamie Newman or number 10, I don't know who that is when he would come in, but they would underthrow the deep passes and they would lead him short, and you lost so many opportunities to hit him on some of these routes, even when he got separation, because you allow the defender to get back into the play. So for Surratt, you know, you got to understand that he's not going to get the most separation, you know, so he's probably not going to be used all the time, even if he was on the field. It needs to be a trust there between the quarterback and the receiver. He'd have a tendency to draw some PIs defensively because guys would really hang on him, which is kind of weird. You would think, why would they grab and hang on? Well, they grabbed him a lot because he is a very physical receiver and he's a very tough target. Yeah, 6'2" isn't huge, but he is very physical, so cornerbacks would grab him. And like I said, people knock his route running, but his route running actually isn't that bad. Actually, his route running is what gets him the separation. It's the little things that he does there. It's a little change of speed. That's what gives him separation. However, that brings me to one of my biggest knocks for him, and that is in route running, and that's stopping on a dime. That's hitting the brakes, you know, in a route. You know, if you're running a deep route and then you're trying to come back to the football, or running a deep curl, something like that, it's hitting the brakes and coming back. That's where he's really slow. And because he's so slow at that, wherever he is on the field, it allows passes to be extremely contested. He has 18 contested catches last season on 30 attempts. That's awesome, right? That's really good. The issue is 30 attempts in contested situations. He's contested on so many of the passes thrown his way, which is a problem. That's a very big problem. But a lot of the physicality, a lot of contested grabs, it's allowed because he can't get that kind of separation. He doesn't stop extremely well in his breaks. So he's so slow out of them that cornerbacks can kind of just stick with him. 2 times I really saw him get separation. Number 1, if he was going over the top and he would do some kind of little, you know, move to head fake, something to just get the defender off and he could get some space. Or number 2, when they play a lot of cushion, he'd run something very short underneath. But even in short routes, okay, even in like 5-yard curls, things like that, doesn't get much separation because the cornerbacks can kind of just stick with him because he's slow, because he comes to a break so slow. It takes a couple of steps for him to break. He can't just stop and turn. And at that point, again, you have to just throw it away from the cornerback. You have to just put it where they can't get it and trust him to play through, you know, those arms. Trust him to play through that and make a play still on the football. I didn't actually love him as a, you know, short passing target. I liked him intermediate, especially against zone, because he could find a hole. I did like him on some of those slants when they gave cushion, of course, you know, because he had space to catch the football. But when he's, you know, getting up pressed against deep ball tracking wasn't the best. I mean, honestly, it wasn't the best. It was good, but it wasn't great. There were certain times where he would be just, you know, kind of couple yards off or things like that, and he would, you know, miss the football. Again, not all of these were good passes. Sometimes they would, you know, wait too long in the route. Overthrow Sage, aside from his pretty good arm length, he wasn't usually able to reach the football, like catch up to it, because he just didn't to have that kind of speed to catch up to the ball. Even if that is because he had space, because he made a really nice move, he doesn't really have that rundown ability. So, like I said, you got to be accurate. So, a guy like Jared Goff that at one point was an extremely accurate deep ball passer, because obviously that run game, which we're trying to build right now, if you have accurate passes deep, you can make it happen. He didn't always win in his contested battles, but most of his passes were in contested battles. So, you know, you're not going to win all of those if it's continuously happening like that. Most of the guys have like 4 or 5, or sometimes they have like 8 contested grabs. He has 18. That's too many. That's way too many, because he's just not getting open enough. You'll lose some of those battles with corners, especially longer corners, things like that. And when you, for me, I think the time that you put him in, you play him at slot as a big slot, is when you have bigger corners on the outside. When you got those 6'2", really long corners that play very physical and aggressive, that's when you want to put him in the slot and try to get that mismatch. If you're going against a little bit smaller cornerbacks, they're not playing as aggressive, maybe they're giving some space, then you play him on the outside, and then he has matchups there. But I think the time they move in the big slot is when there's big outside cornerbacks that are super, super long. Otherwise, you can throw him in the slot. But again, he plays through a lot of physicality. There was a play against Caleb Farley where he made a really nice grab. As much as he doesn't get a ton of separation, and it can really lack yard after catch because the guy's right on him as soon as he catches it, speed, quickness, those two things are definitely lacking, but he has found ways to make it work. And like I said, there's a little bit of underrated burst right off the line of scrimmage in his game, because he does get low and he runs really hard. So he's not like super slow. It's not like the guy can't play the next level. Like I said, Quintez Cephas had a slower 40. It's not terrible. Like, there are times where cornerbacks can get beat deep, especially if they sell that fake where they can't recover in time. And he's beat some guys deep. There's no question. I've seen him beat guys deep. But again, it's not consistent. Now, he can definitely be a red zone / end zone target. Guys love him there. You put him in it, you throw a slant to him. He just has to get inside leverage, and all you have to do is lead him. You can throw fades to him.
Now, this is one of those passes that didn't go to him, but you can see the safety respect, and it leaves the tight end wide open over the middle.
You know, you love him as a red zone and end zone target. That's why he has so many touchdowns. So early in his career, he might be just for that. You put him out in those situations, and you let him go out there and make plays. For Lions, they only have one tight end who's really a pass catcher tight end. That's Hockenson. So that's where you can see these bigger receivers maybe have more of an impact early. The speed and quickness is probably going to be just a cap. I mean, I just don't think you're going to make him much faster, much quicker, but he has learned ways to adjust and get around it. So the ceiling may not be extremely high, but there are reasons people said that this guy could be a mid-round pick, because if you find the right way to use him, he can play at what he does. He can do what he does well. The thing is he wasn't that impactful at the Senior Bowl. I think the issue is you have to have a quarterback that trusts him. If your quarterback does not trust him, you're going to have a problem. They have to trust to throw when he's not open, because he's not going to be open that often. And NFL quarterbacks, to me, are better at that. Golf will be better at that, because they realize guys aren't open as often as college. College, you got wide open guys. So when you throw him in the Senior Bowl, yeah, he's going to struggle because they're used to having open receivers, and they throw it to the open guy. At the NFL, that's not always the case. It's more about, hey, they're more contested. You got to be able to play through that. A lot more passes in the NFL are more heavily contested, and that's what's likely going to happen. The thing is, if you look at them in college, there were really no bad games, because every game is kind of the same. It's pretty much the same. Most cornerbacks have the same task against him. Some better than others because of side mismatches, but for the most part, every game's pretty much the same. He's not super fast. He's not going to burn you consistently. He's got to find little ways to get separation deep. You have to trust him, and he can play through physical situations. He can block. So you just have to trust him. And at the NFL, he actually, in a weird way, could translate better, because what he's used to doing is something that NFL quarterbacks may be more used to throwing to at the next level. So Sage Surratt, man, I'm very happy we have him. We've talked about him for a while. I think it's really cool that he ended up being on a roster, and I hope he makes the team. I really do. That'd be really awesome. So let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.